Hi, my name is Raymond Rodriguez and welcome to College of Architecture channel. In this video, you will learn the AutoCAD coordinate system, 2D drafting exercises, and including but not limited to isometric drawing. Now let's talk about the AutoCAD coordinate system. But before anything else, kindly press Z enter, E enter for zoom extents. Then I want you to place the UCS somewhere here on this portion. Then press F7 to enable the grid mode so you can see the grid lines. And on the setting, kindly select snap setting and change the grid spacing to 1. And for both X and Y, as well as for the snap spacing, let's change it both to 1 and press OK. Now, as you can see, every grid measures 1 by 1 for the X and Y. And as you look into this chart, any value that goes to the right will have a positive X, and anything that goes to the left will have a negative value for the X, and for the Y, if it goes up, will have a positive value. If it goes down, it will have a negative value. Now for the absolute coordinate, your 0 value would always be constant and be placed in here on the UCS, having its 0 for the X and Y axis. Now let's type in line, L, enter, and for the first point, let's type in 1, 1, next 6, 1, spacebar or enter after every command, then 6, 3, spacebar or enter, then 4, 4, 4, then 1, 4, and of course press C for close. And as you can see, 1, 1, in which the first number corresponds to the value of X, and for the second number corresponds to the value of Y. Now if you can look into this one, for the first value, we have 1, 1. It moved 1 spot from the 0 in the X and 1 spot from the Y axis. Now going from point B, let's count from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you have 6 as your first value. And for the Y, it is only 1. However, for point C, which is your next point, for the X, they have the same value. That's why it's a straight line. But of course, it did move up. Starting from here, you count 1, 2, and 3. So you have the value of 6, 3. Now for point D, it's going to be 4, 4. For the X, starting from here, 1, 2, 3, 4. You look into the grid lines. And from the Y, starting from here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And as well as for the next point, which is E, which is 1, 4, having a distance of 1 for the X, and for the Y, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And you just simply press C to close the line. So that's how you do the absolute coordinate. Now let's discuss the relative coordinate. Let's type in first L for the first line, L, enter, or spacebar, then type in 8, 1, or you can pick anywhere you want to, but I suggest you type in 8, 1 for uniformity's sake. So for the next point, it's asking, and we'll be typing shift at 5, 0. Okay. and spacebar. For the next point, shift at 0, 2, shift at -2, 1, shift at -3, 0, and C for close. I'm always saying shift, it's for you to access this symbol which is at. Now, the difference now between the absolute and the relative coordinate is that for the absolute coordinate, the 0 is always placed in here constantly on your UZS. But for the relative coordinate, the 0 actually moves depending on your last or on your recent point. Let's say you have the first point in here at 8, 1. So going to point B, since you have 5 as your distance for the X, you need to type in at 5, 0, because it did not move up. Since the distance is 5, going to point B, you type in at 5, 0. For the Y value, it's going to be 0 because it did not move vertically. And going to point C, obviously, the value is 0 for X. It did not move horizontally, but it did move upwards, having a value of 2, which is positive. And going to point D, you have moved 2 for the X, but it did move on the left side, so it's going to be negative. And for the Y, the value is positive because it did move upwards, so you have at -2, 1. However, for point E, going to point E, you have a distance of 3 going to the left. As you can see here on the diagram, going to the left gives you a negative value of the X, so it has -3. And for the Y, it remains there. It did not move upward or downward, so it's going to be 0. Then for the last point, you just need to press C or close. And that's it for the relative coordinate. Now let's talk about the relative polar coordinate. So we need to type in first L, enter. Then for the first point, you can pick anywhere, but I suggest, once again, just pick 18, 4. And for the second point, type in shift at 3, shift angle 180, and press spacebar. For the next point, shift at 3, shift angle 270, and spacebar. For the next point, shift at 5, shift angle 0, and press spacebar. For the next point, we have shift at 2, shift angle 90, and press spacebar. And for the last point, just press C, spacebar. And so for the relative polar coordinate, basically you have the distance and the angle. And the angle would always be constant. If you go to the right, it would be 0. Going to the left, it's going to be 180. And going upwards, it's going to be 90. And going downwards, it's going to be 270. So as we review this, from point A going to point B, it goes to the left. So basically, the angle is 180. And the distance is 3. So it becomes 3 angle 180. Next, you have the distance which is 3, but it goes downward look in here, it will be 270 for the angle. Now going to point D from point C, you have 5 as the distance, and the angle would be 0, going to the right. Now for point E, coming from point D, it goes upward. So the angle would be 90 and the distance would be at 2. So that's how you use the relative polar coordinate. Now let's go to direct distance entry at number 4. But before we do that, make sure that your ortho mode is active by pressing this one or pressing F8. Now for the first line, type L, enter, and for uniformity's sake, the first point would be 25,4. And for the second point, all you need to do now is to drag your mouse to the left side and type the value 3 and press space bar. And going to point C, drag your mouse downwards, type in 3 as your next value and press space bar, and drag it to the right, type 5 and space bar, drag it upwards, type 2 and press space bar, and simply press C for close. So this is actually the easiest, wherein you just need to type in the distances and point the mouse for its direction. And that's how you use the direct distance entry. Now let's talk about land parcel mapping. And let's type in first L for the first line. And for the first point, let's type in 31,1 and press spacebar. For the second point, let's type in shift at 2, shift angle N90, D, 0 minutes east, and press spacebar. Then shift at 2, shift angle N45, D, 0 minutes east, and spacebar. Next, shift at 2, shift angle N 0 degrees 0 minutes east and press the spacebar. Next, shift at 2, shift angle N45, D 0 minutes west, spacebar. Next, shift at 2, shift angle N90 degrees 0 minutes west, spacebar. Next, shift at 2, shift angle S45D 0 minutes west and press spacebar. Next, shift at 2, shift angle S0D 0 minutes west, enter or spacebar. Next, shift at 2, shift angle, we have S45D 0 minutes east and press spacebar and another one. So basically, land parcel mapping is a little bit similar to relative polar coordinate, in which they are concerned about the angles. But however, for the polar coordinates, you have one specific angle for each direction. But here, the angle could be repeated. And of course, the main concern is the direction of the second point based from the orientation of the true north. So for this example, from point A going to point B, it's going to the right. So it means if you're here on point A going to point B, you type first the distance, which is at 2, and 90 degrees. You have 90 degrees from here going to here. So it's n 90 degrees 0 minutes going to the east. Now, going to point C, it would be different a little bit. It's going to be at 2, and again, which is for north, 45 degrees 0 minutes going to the east. And hence it is now going upwards. You will now be having at 2 angle and 0 degrees because it did not tilt sidewards, only upwards. So it's going to be 0 degrees east, or you can also type in west if you like. It doesn't matter because the value of the angle is 0 degrees. Now going to the point E, we have now at 2 and 45 degrees, which is going where? To the west. As you can see, going to the west. And 45 degrees going to the west. And this is it. Now for point E going to point F, it would be this one, which is at 2 and 90 degrees going west, and so on. Moreover, let's try plotting a lot which is based on a True Transfer Certificate title, or TCT. Now this is the certain coordinates that I have copied in the internet from a certain transfer certificate title. Now, to do this, you will be doing this command so that we can copy this. Okay, so what we shall do now is type in L, and we can pick anywhere you want. And of course, for the next point, it says in here, we have 27.99 meters. And the distance is south 49 degrees 35 minutes east. So we shall be typing at 27.99 shift angle S 49D 35 minutes east, and press spacebar. Next, shift at 16.95 shift angle S 45D 36 minutes west, and press the spacebar. Now for the next point, shift at, we have 5.95 shift angle S 86D 15 minutes west, and press spacebar. Next, we have shift at 24.01 shift angle and 51D 44 minutes west. And lastly, for the last point, shift at 21.99 shift angle and 45D 07 minutes east, and press spacebar or enter twice. And of course, if you zoom this, most of the time, the lot doesn't close. But as long as you have a very minimal differential gap, it would be accepted. So to verify the distance of the gap, let's type in DI and click those 2 points. And as you can see, the distance is 0.01, which is very much small. So it would still be accepted. Now all you have to do is press F and click those 2 points. Make sure the radius is 0 and the lot now will be closed. Now if you want to be sure whether we did the right thing or not, let's copy this one first. Ctrl-Shift-C, and let's select the base point of it and select this one. And let's press Ctrl-Shift-V for this. And let's paste all of it on all endpoints, Ctrl-Shift-V, as well as for this one. And this last point. It says in here, it is 49 degrees, 35 minutes going to east. So starting from here, south, and this is east. So this line and this line should have an angle which is close to 49 degrees. So let's check it. And by clicking this one and this one, you now have 50 degrees, which is very close to 49 degrees and 35 minutes east. Now for this point, let's check this one. You have 45 degrees south. This is south and this is west. And it says in here 45 degrees and 36 minutes south of west. Now, as you can see, it is close, very close. You have a slight difference because of this 36 minutes differential. Now for point 3, it says in here 86 degrees going to west. 86 degrees 15 minutes going to west. Coming from south, let's check it. Let's pick this one and the other line, which is this one, and you have the 86 degrees. Now next we have and 51 degrees 44 minutes west. So you click this and select this line, which is the north, and this is your west line, and you have now 52 degrees, and you have here 51 degrees, which is very much close. And for this one, going to the last point, it's and 45 degrees east, and as you can see, it's and 45 degrees east for the inclination of the line. So that's how you check whether the angle is right for the land parcel mapping. Now let's talk about the last process, which is the polar tracking and object snap tracking. And for that, we need to check in the object snap, which is F3. And of course, we need to check the object snap tracking, which is F11, and the polar tracking, and make sure the 45-degree angle is being checked as well. And press escape. Now, for you, I want you to type in L, enter, and as for you, type in 40,1 and press spacebar. But for me, I would be clicking somewhere here. Okay. Now, since I already have the object snap tracking and the polar tracking on, I will drag this mouse upwards in here, and we have the 45-degree angle on the northwest. So I would be typing the distance, which is 2.8284. Then simply press spacebar. Now I will drag the mouse upwards and type in 2 and enter. Drag it to the right. I don't have any distance yet, so I will be picking this point. I will slowly drag the mouse upwards until it snaps, having 2 green lines, and I'll pick the point. I'll move it upwards, press 1. Now I need to pick this one. I'll just touch it and drag it slowly upwards and pick this point. Now again, for point G, I'll drag this upwards and have a value of 2 as indicated. Now for point H, you need to drag this here, having a 45-degree angle, but you don't know the measurement. So you might as well touch this one and slowly drag it upwards. Slowly drag it upwards until it produces the intersection of the 45-degree angle. 2 green lines. Now in here, I type in 2. Now downwards, I don't have any measurements, but then I'll pick the midpoint in here and drag it to the side downwards to have an intersection of 2 green lines, and I'll pick point J. Next, drag the mouse in here to the right, type the value 1, and press spacebar. Here, I just touch this one, and there you go. I can pick point L. In here, I need to type in 2 and spacebar. And as for this point, letter N, I'll just touch this one and wait for the intersection to appear. There you go. I'll pick the point. And as for here, pick this one. And this point in here for P. And you have here for Q. And this is for R. The intersection, of course. This is for S. And for T, we need to touch Q. Now for point T, going to point Q, you don't have any measurement, but it's definitely the midpoint of line LM. Okay? So what I need to do is get the midpoint and drag it downwards and pick the point. Now for V, it's basically the midpoint of line RS. Midpoint of line RS intersecting with point K. So it means I'll touch this midpoint and it should intersect with this one. And that is point V. Now you have point W. Make sure it does snap correctly, or you will be having a wrong image. Now for this one, I need to touch this one to make sure it's going to be right. Need to touch it and drag it slowly. And touch this one as well. And click it and click this one. And press spacebar. Now to make sure if I did it right, I'll have to move it, all of it, and place it on top of the existing drawing. And there you go. And that's how you do the polar tracking and object snap tracking. You just need to touch 2 points and wait for the two green lines to intersect before you pick a point. Now let's test your drafting skills by doing some of these exercises. And if I were you, you need to print screen this first and do it by yourself. And you might as well, check the time on how long you can do it alone right now before you watch the video and after you watch the video. So let's do it right now. Just type in first Z, enter, E, enter. So you'll be zooming the model space, and now go somewhere here at the top of your upper right corner of your UCS, somewhere here. But for me, I'll be doing my work in here. So type in REC and click anywhere you want. And for the dimension, let's type in 4 by 4 and click. Now I'll be having a lines in here. Click in here and offset it by 0.5. Now I'll be copying this and I'll rotate it. Then I'll copy this figure, both of it, and be back with it later on. Now I'll put this in here, the first figure. And place it in here. Then I'll use the trim command TR and simply erase those excess line. And for this, I'll be deleting this one. So there you have figure number 1. For figure number 2, let's copy in the rectangle. And let's type in 6. And you might as well place this over here and put it in here once again. And use the trim command like we did a while back ago and trim those excess line. And of course in here. And now you have figure number 2. For figure number 3, let's copy this once again. 6 for the distance. And let's have a line in here. We have how many lines in here or spaces? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I need to explode this one. So I would be able to divide it in 8 equal parts. Now, in case this node doesn't appear in here, all you have to do is go to Format, Point Style, and select this one and press OK. Now, if you press RE, it magnifies. If I zoom it in and press RE, the node decreases in its size. So I'll be offsetting this line. And for the distance, which I don't know, I'll just pick this node and for the perpendicular. So that would be it for the offset distance. Then, of course, I need to trim the excess line. I might as well delete these nodes. Then type in MI for the mirror and select these 2 points. That's for figure number 3. For figure number 4, let's copy this one. And let's have 12 for the distance. I did not copy this because it's already broken. I exploded it. So instead, I copy the rectangle of this one, which is figure number 2. Now for figure number 4, we have 0.25 for the offset. So let's do it. 0.25. How many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You have parallel lines at 50. So for the justification, it's going to be 0. For the scale, it's going to be 0.50. And click this one, the midpoint. And for the other one, and type in ML edit and select open cross. Select those 2 ML lines and type in TR. And I would be selecting this one, trimming all of the excess lines. And that's how you do the figure number 4. Let's go on to figure number 5. And this is a little bit hard for me. And we have a spacing of 0.25 in here. So it means we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, a total of 16 spaces in here. So I need to explode this again so I can provide a node in here. When I do divide this into 16 parts, that's the node. Now, what do I do next is to have P line over here. Where's the midpoint? Type in midpoint. Okay. And close. Now we make a line in here. Then let's make a line in here at the midpoint. A couple of lines. Now let's mirror it. No, here. Let's make a mirror of all of this in here. And choose it again. And again. And you might as well offset this. And for the distance, we don't know. Just pick here. Obviously, you need to trim those excess lines. I would be deleting those nodes. How many rectangles do I have inside? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'll offset this 6 more times. 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's how you do figure number 5. And now let's move on to figure number 6. And let's copy this square. Let's type in 12. Not this one because it's already exploded. And of course, we have here 4 squares having a dimension of 1.75. Let's type in REC and click here and type D. For the dimension, we have 1.75 by 1.75 and click in here. And of course, offset distance is 0.25. And let's select inside. And let's press MI and select the midpoint. Do it one more time and select the midpoint. Now here we have a square inside and the distance is 2.5 and we have a larger square which is 4 meters, which leaves us a distance of 1.5 in which we should be dividing it into 2 so the square would be on the center. So offset, let's say 0.75. There you go. Now let's offset it inside by 0.25. And we move this now here because we don't need it anymore. And let's type in trim and select all the lines that needs to be taken off. And that's how you do figure number 6. Now moving on with figure number 7, let's type in PL, click somewhere here, and for the next point, it's going to be 1.5, select arc, and for the angle, type in 90, and for the distance, it's going to be 1, and select L again for the P line to be once again line, and type 1.5. Drag it upwards, type in 1.5, and press the spacebar, then select arc, select angle, type in 90, and we drag it upwards, type in 1, and select L again, drag it upwards, type in 1.5, drag it to the left, type 1.5, select arc, select angle, type 90, and drag it on the left, type 1, and select L again for line, drag it onto the left, type 1.5, and downwards we have 1.5 again, and select arc, and select the angle, it's going to be 90, and type 1 for the distance, and L again, and then press C for close. And you can delete this one and offset it by 0.5. And that's how you do figure number 7. Now let's talk about how to draw to the isometric drawings. And for old version of AutoCAD, you need to type in snap style to activate the isometric for changing the crosshair orientation. And we put the value 1 and look at the crosshair as I enter spacebar or enter. It changes. You can also enable this or deactivate this by just simply pressing this icon, ISO draft. You can switch it to on or off. And in case you don't have this, go back in here and simply check the isometric drafting. So we need to check that. Now let's make a construction line to serve as a guide in here. And let's make this active once again. And for the measurement of figure number 1, we have 3 by 4. So let's type in L and make sure that the orientation is on isoplane left. You can simply select this, or if you want, you could press F5 or F and F5 for some computers. And isoplane left is now active, so I might as well click in here. And of course, I need to make sure that the ortho mode is active so I can produce straight lines. And let's type in 4 by 3, 4 in here, and 3 upwards. Then connect it at the bottom. Then let's change the orientation to right, and we have the measurement 2.5. And let's copy this one. And you might as well copy this line as well. And there you have figure number 1. Now for figure number 2, we have 3 by 5 in here on isoplane left. So I'll be creating a line in here starting at this point. Three by 5, 5, then 3, then we have here 1.5, and let's connect it on to the endpoint. And of course, let's change the orientation to isoplane top. And we have here 3 for the distance, and here we have 1 and 2. So let's type in L for 3, 3, and we have here 1 and 2. And of course, let's change the orientation to right. Press F5. We now have 2. Type in 2. 2 in here and 2 downwards. Now change the orientation. Press F5 again. Change it to top. Click in here. And you have here 2.33. And here it's going to be 2, and connect it onto the endpoint and create a line in here. Just connect the 2 points. as well as here, connect the points. Make sure you connect the points properly. And there you go for figure number 2. Now let's do figure number 3. We have 4 by 2.5. So let's go to isoplane left. Four by 2.5. And we have here 2, 1, and 2. We have here 2, 1, and 2, and connect to the endpoint. Now, let's change the orientation once again. We have the top. So for the top, we had 2.5 L, 2.5, and simply copy those lines. Copy the lines, paste it onto the endpoints. And you might as well copy this one. And paste it in here. Make sure it snaps correctly. And that is figure number 3. Now let's move on to figure number 4. And let's type in L for line. And we have here 1 and 1. And of course, it's going to be 2 by 3.5. Okay. So let's have 1 in here by 3.5. And 1. And close it. Now we have here 2. And copy this one. And let's delete this one. And what we have in here is 2.5 by 4. And let's change it to isoplane top. Press L. 2.5 by 4. Select in here. And create another line in here. You have here the distance, which is 1.5. And we have here 2. And click in here. And you might as well copy this one. Trim this line. And just copy one line in here. And paste it over here. And copy this line as well. Now you have figure number 4. Now let's move on to figure number 5. We have, for the distance, we have 6 by 2. Okay. And we have here 2.5 by 2. Let's change the orientation to isoplane left. We have here 2.5 by 2. And let's type here. This is 6. We have 2.5 and 1.5, which makes it 4. So we have here 2. Let's type here 2 to serve as a guide. And copy this one. And type in L for 1.5 by 2 by 1.5 and close it in here. And you can delete this now. And here, going to the isoplane right, we have 2.5 by 2, 2.5 by 2, and 2.5 again. And for the top, isoplane top, we have here 6 by 2.5. Now, we shall be creating a circle in here, but we would be using ellipse instead. Type in EL, select isocircle, and for the center, type in M to P, which is the midpoint of 2 points. So for first point would be this one, and second point would be this one. So I would be clicking this one, and there you go. And type in TR for trim, and delete this line, and copy this one, and delete the excess line. So that would be figure number 5. Now let's move on to figure number 6. We have 2 by 3, isn't it? So let's change the orientation to left. Type in line. Two by 3. It's 2 and 3. And here for the top, what do we have? It's going to be 3 by 4. So type in 3 and 4 and 1. Now change the orientation to right using F5, and we have 3 by 1. 3 and 1, and there you go. Now for this particular circle or curved line, we can't use the M2P anymore because it's not in the midpoint. You can't have the midpoint in here. It's because the distance is not the same. So you might as well type in here a line, so that you can get the intersection point for the circle that will serve as the center of your ISO circle. So type in EL for ellipse and ISO circle, and select this intersection and select the endpoint. Now you can delete this one and simply type in trim and erase this line and copy this one, and there you have figure number 6. Now let's move on to figure number 7. Let's type in L. And for the distance, we have 1.5 by 1.5. Make sure it's on isoplane left. And 1.5. Now here we have 1, 2.5, 1, and 1. So let's make a line here. 1. So let's type in 1.5 and 2.5, 1.5 again. And in here we have 1. You have 1.5 by 1 by 1.5 and 1. And you can delete this now. And you might as well change the orientation to isoplane top. Press Fn5 or F5 rather. Type in L. We have here 3, 4, 2.5, 3, 4, 2.5, and 3. And of course, we have here 3.511, 3.5, 1, 1. And let's change the orientation once again to isoplane right. We have here 1, then 1.5. Then here at the endpoint, 1.5. We have 3.5. Select this endpoint. And you can now delete this one. And let's type in EL again. And make sure it's on isoplane top. Why? If I choose isocircle right now and type in M to P to get the center or the midpoint of 2 points, this is what happens. So I need, of course, to reorient the crosshair. So I would be selecting F5 or Fn F5 and make sure it's on isoplane top. So do it again. ISO circle M2P and click in here. There you go. And of course, you can trim it now. And copy it. Then trim the excess lines. And you can copy this one. And there you have figures 1 to 7. Now it's going to be the application of dimension in isometric drawings. So we need first to click this one, the align, and just click in here. Let's say the value is 1 for the distance, and click in here as well, 1. For all dimensions, type in 1. And do the same for all. So after this one, I'll be fast forwarding this. Now to convert this dimensions to look the same as this one, all we need to do is follow this one. For the dimension, uh, it's going to be oblique angle 30 if the dimensions are from here at the top right and at the right view. So let's select this one. Basically, we can select which one? This one and select oblique. And for the angle, it's going to be 30. So we can do it for this dimensions. You can select all of them at once. And select dimension, oblique, then 30. Now for this dimension, which is for the this portion, the top left and the this one, we have oblique angle negative 30. So you might as well try this one first, and dimension oblique angle is negative 30. So let's do the same for the rest. We might as well select all of it. And then select dimension oblique negative 30. Now let's move on with the other dimensions, which is this one. And for the dimensions, we have the oblique angle as 90 for those that are located below. So let's select all of this. Then you should select dimension, oblique, and for the angle, it's going to be 90. Now, all you have to do now is to adjust the dimensions to make sure that they are aligned properly on each endpoint. We need to edit this one. We forgot to, so it's going to be for the dimension, it's going to be oblique angle negative 30 for this particular dimension. And that's how you do the dimensions for the isometric. Now let's move on with the hatches of the drawings. And for this one, let's type in H for the hatch. Add pick points. Let's pick in here. And you might as well use the swamp and press OK and preview and press the spacebar and OK. Then do it for this one as well. Add pick points and in here and press OK and for here as well. For this one, it's going to be different. So let's add pick points and let's change the pattern. Let's try this one. Preview. It's not right for the angle and for the scale as well. So we might as well adjust it. Let's try one. So we have the same size, but the orientation is wrong. So let's change the angle. Let's try 45. Let's try 0 then. Uh, it's the same now. And press OK. Now we do it for the rest. And in here too. Now here, we need to obviously change the orientation in which we would be changing the angle. Let's try 90. So that's it. Press OK. Only select one. And press OK. And that's how you do the hatches of the isometric drawing. Now let's adjust the dimensions of the text to be similar with this one. So as you can see, for this one, we have positive 30 for the angle. We have negative 30 in here, positive in here, negative, positive, and negative. So it's actually alternate. So starting from at the bottom, you have the negative value for the text. And let's check it out and double click it and press Control A. Press Control A. Make sure it changes the color and you put it the and you put the value negative 30 on it. And let's do the same for the rest of it. Make sure to double click it and the color changes, or else you will be doing it incorrectly if you forgot to press Control A. Therefore, on this side, it's going to be positive 30 for the text oblique angle of the dimensions. Now for here, it's also going to be positive 30. Since we have positive 30 in here, this would be negative 30 for the text oblique angle. Then you will be using positive 30 for this text dimension. Then negative 30 for this side. So basically, that's it on how to adjust the text dimension. Now let's talk about the text, the plain text in isometric. So let's type in first txt and click anywhere you want. Let's say in here. And of course, for the height, let's specify 0.5. And for the angle, it's going to be 30. And let's type in right view. Now let's create a text again. And let's click in here. And for the height, it remains 0.5. For the rotation angle, it's going to be negative 30. And let's type in top view. Let's copy this one. And let's type front view. Now, the difference between the text dimension and the plain text for isometric is that when you click this one, the text dimension, the text formatting automatically appears and you will have this option for the obliquing. Now, press escape. However, if I click this text, you won't see that option. So you might as well type in properties and select the text that you want to oblique. Let's say I'll be obliquing this right view, and let's try positive 30. And there you have the text of right view. Now for the front view, let's click it and let's try negative 30. And for the top view, let's select it. And for the obliquing, let's try positive 30. So that's how you change the simple text to an isometric text. You need to have the properties and you need to select the text. Then you change the obliquing angle. And that's it for the isometric drawing. So I suggest that you should print screen this one, then try to do it all alone by yourself and gauge how fast you have improved yourself in making isometric drawings with regards to the dimension and text as well.